Hey everyone, my name is Moonshine and I'm the host of today's AMA with Gno.land, which is a smart contract platform built on a novel interpretation of Golang for blockchain. So in today's AMA, we are going to discover more about Gno.land ecosystem, the interface, the wallets, and every other aspect and features of the project. To start with, we have Jae here with us. So, Jae, could you start introducing yourself and the team behind Gno.land?
So I just drinking some water here. So I got started in crypto in 2013. I was about to launch an exchange and developed an exchange and was going to launch before Coinbase, I suppose. But then I found, let me start from the beginning. I'm a programmer, went to Cornell University, and I also developed the Yelp app. I don't know if you know Yelp, the business. When the when the App Store first launched, I had developed the Yelp app, and the Yelp app was the first one of the first to feature in the App Store. And then I got the startup bug in San Francisco, and got into Bitcoin in 2000. Well, at first 2012. Anyways, I was about to launch the crypto exchange, and then I found research papers on Byzantine fault tolerance consensus algorithms, and realized that hey, I think I can solve proof of stake. So I dropped everything and started working on Tendermint. And Tendermint it's one of the first, or it is the first consensus algorithm that fully solved proof of stake, or as we call it at the time, the nothing at stake problem. So I like to credit myself as solving proof of stake. And then in 2017, I published a white paper called Cosmos with Ethan Buckman, and did a fundraiser for Cosmos, and that was wildly successful, because and it was just before the ICO bubble had really started. And we launched the Cosmos Hub in 2019. So that was going all right, but I'd also developed the Cosmos SDK, but it wasn't easy to develop new blockchains in the Cosmos SDK, even though it's written in Go. What I envisioned for blockchain programming is, like Ethereum, a way to make it easy to develop dApps in the Go language, much easier than was possible, even with the Cosmos SDK, which is written in Go. So I started working on a virtual machine to interpret the Go language. And now we have Gno.land. Gno.land is a blockchain. It's like Ethereum in that it's a smart contract platform. It's built on Tendermint, and it allows you to write a succinct, elegant Go program that is a smart contract. And you can't do that anywhere else because you need the Gno virtual machine.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jay, for such an in-depth and detailed background about how you thought of and started building the project Gno.land. So with that background in mind, I would like you to walk us through what you guys are actually offering. When someone thinks of Gno.land, what is the next thing one should think of? Is it above being a smart contracts project, or there is more to it?
It's you should first and foremost think of it as an L1 that competes with Ethereum. And I know there's a lot of L1s out there. Maybe it's a difficult market to break. But you should think of it from the fundamentals of, think about the future. Like, what does the future hold for smart contract platforms? I don't think we're going to be using Solidity forever. When I think of the evolution of programming languages, we've had decades of innovation, and it's kind of like, what is the final state, or the next evolution of smart contract languages? And I think Go is definitely the one, because Go has a powerful user base of non-blockchain programmers already. There might be tens of thousands of Solidity developers, but there's millions of Go developers who have been developing Go for a long time now. It's a very popular language, and it's a solid, simple language. So I fully believe that the future smart contract programming will be like Gno.land, or it is Gno, really. It's 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 the best smart contract platform out there. Um, yeah, and but in terms of what our um, what our go-to-market strategy is, right? It's called Gno.land because GNO is the Greek prefix for knowledge. So while you can develop any DeFi application, just as easily on Gno.land, and we have a lot of ERC equivalents already implemented, um, what what I really want is to make Gno.land the place for the discovery of truth, right? And I can get into that if you don't mind. I want to talk about the origin of Gno.land and why it was created.
Definitely, go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. So, it was during COVID when I started working on this, and what I discovered. Did you know? First, I'm going to ask you a question. Did you know that the COVID-19 virus was engineered in the Wuhan lab? You know, Not to say it's like China's fault. It's actually the fault of, I would say, Dr. Fauci in the United States, who allowed the funding to continue when it was illegal. Like, is that well known?
Yeah, at first it was more like something natural, but after some time, it was then, spoken about in videos that you would see, like dark truths about COVID-19, stuff like that. So yeah, I heard of it in the past. It's still being debated, but I really don't know if it's accurate or not.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like the concrete. Well, there is sufficient proof. I'm not a virologist, right? I don't understand the gene sequence, but I remember back during COVID when it was blowing up, all these people saying, sequencing the gene and saying that it was definitely from the Wuhan lab. Um, there are whistleblower testimonies, and also there's a paper trail of people who were working on the Wuhan lab on the COVID-19 virus, trying to hide the fact that it came from the lab. So I think, if you have people trying to hide something, that are, it's pretty obvious that they're the ones who are responsible for doing it. And there was also that, especially that Chinese lady, I forget her name, but she was a whistleblower, right? Um, so, and I did an AMA the other day in Korea, and the host there had no idea, right? From their perspective, it's just a conspiracy theory. And we live, what I realized during the COVID lockdowns is that we live in a world where the truth is suppressed. And it's surprising to me that even 5, 6 years later, the truth is still suppressed. Like, despite the fact that all the information is out, a lot of people and a lot of countries have no idea what is actually going on because the information just doesn't it doesn't reach there, or they don't believe it because the information is suppressed. And if it's not, it's not just being suppressed, it's like fake alternative facts are presented instead, and they're all labeled as conspiracy theories. So I realized what we need is a communication platform, right, on the blockchain, and a smart contract language like Gno can make it so much easier to develop permissionlessly new ways to distill truth, to bring truth to the front, so that people can find this information, and it wouldn't be suppressed, or at least you can easily make a system that prevents, censorship because it's on the blockchain. So
Yeah.
Gno.land, yeah, so that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's called Gno.land, because I really want the truth to become known.
I think your explanation came from a very relatable, uh, thing, because everyone definitely experienced the COVID-19. And like you rightly mentioned, I saw some videos online giving, hypotheses about the COVID-19 being a natural spillover from animals and possible laboratory related incidents. But as a matter of fact, the way you kind of relate it to what or how you are building the project is kind of unique. And the question I wanted to ask is like the next question I wanted to ask is like from a developer adoption standpoint. So even experienced Web2 Go developer joins today, how long would it realistically take them to become productive on Gno.land? And are there certain type of applications that you believe Gno.land is uniquely positioned to enable, what other existing ecosystems are struggling with?
Yeah, for a Go developer, it's immediate. They can start developing immediately. There are two or three things that they have to understand about how Gno is different than the regular Go runtime. But otherwise, it's very simple. It uses the same rules for Go privacy. It's called whether a field is exposed or not. So those are rules regarding security. Actually, you don't even need to really know that. You already know that if you know Go, right? So it's immediate for Go programmers, which is the key selling point. And in terms of what applications can be developed that can't be done easily, well, for just as an example, we have a demo that is like a subreddit forum. You can't program that easily in many smart contract systems. I mean, you can try to do that like in Solidity, but and I think people have, but it certainly wouldn't be as easy, right? Another thing is, here's a technical note. I haven't found a good smart contract platform where you can like actually upload or use regular expression as a library, which is kind of ridiculous. Regular expressions are it's a way, it's in programming, it's a way to match patterns in a string. It's used all the time in non-blockchain programming contexts, and it's just the case that you can't use regular expressions in pretty much any smart contract platform out there, even Ethereum. But in Go, we could just copy paste the regular expression um, standard library from the Go language, and it just works as in the smart contract platform because we have a fully compatible interpreter. So yeah, things like that, right? You can port a lot of the existing standard libraries, and we already have, but basically almost all Go code just runs.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that question. And I also saw in the part of the governance that you guys are using like the proof of contribution as the idea behind the governance. So, what inspired the belief that contributors and not capital should ultimately shape governance?
Yeah. Just to be clear, the governance model, proof of contribution. I don't like the term because um, just because you contribute doesn't mean you should have a say, right? There are many people who try to who want to contribute and do, but then they wouldn't be the best at guiding the chain, right? So it does require judgment and assessment of those contributions, right? But the reason why capital isn't as good is because I've already experienced that with Cosmos, right? Um, there had been lots of battles of the vision of Cosmos and where it should go, and I think a lot of drama, and to be fair, some of that was my fault in how I approached it, but I was just trying to protect the Cosmos chain, right, and the original vision. And there were people who wanted to take it in a vastly different direction, and I remember in the when Atom 2.0 was pitched, for example, Atom 2.0 was a proposal on the Cosmos Hub to change the inflation system and to create a huge treasury for funding projects. It was good in a capitalistic sense, right? It sounded good in theory, but it didn't seem safe. So I also opposed that. But what I learned was that a proof of stake driven um, um, blockchain, it's not necessarily the best. There needs to be a core team that understands the project, and there needs to be more of inertia, not in a negative sense, but more of keeping to the vision sense of core people who are not not attached, not so strongly attached to capital and swayed by capital for a project to really succeed. That was my determination. It's kind of like, and one of the reasons why this is the case, I think, I strongly believe, is because um, blockchain tokens are so fungible. They're so fungible, even in proof of stake, even with bonding. It only takes like 3 weeks, say, to unbond in Cosmos Hub. That it's kind of like um, it's too easy for the direction to change, right? In a corporation, if you have shares, it's true that like in a public market, a publicly traded company, that the shares are fungible, sure, but it's usually not all the shares, right? And even if the shares are fungible, there is an organizational structure that provides the inertia, like the board of directors and also the executive and all the employees, right? So there's usually something that anchors the company to a direction, and the best companies like Apple have a visionary or a strong board that keeps direction consistent despite the shareholders. But blockchains don't have that. So I realized that the best way to solve the problem for Gno.land is just to have a DAO of people who have actually dedicated their time and are competent, and it doesn't need to be proof of stake.
Great. I think I understand the standpoint of where you're coming from, and it kind of keep it, very fair, because when it's only coming from those who have the money, who has the fund to, that is the only kind of people who are allowed. they tend to want to manipulate the whole system, right?
Yeah.
So it's fair when everyone can, those who are able to come in to contribute towards the project. So I think the next question I wanted to ask was, do you guys have a token? And if you do, probably you can walk us through the tokenomics.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a token that's it's called GNOT, and the GNOT token, I call it Gno. Sometimes I say Gno.land, but I also say Gno.land. But the token, I always say Gnot. And that's the token that is available at sale.gno.land under the Sonar platform for pre-sale right now before we launch it. And we're very close to launch, by the way. End of August, early September. The tokenomics. So GNOT, GNOT, is the storage deposit token and the fee token. So the CPU transaction fee for gas spam prevention is GNOT. And also separately, every time you run a transaction and you increase the storage, because your transaction can manipulate the state and add more objects to the tree of objects in Gno.land. You have to also lock up a small amount of GNOT. And so, and currently the total storage for Gno.land is 10 terabytes. So the 1.333 billion GNOT represents 10 terabytes. And of course, that can change over time through governance. But yeah, so primarily it is a storage deposit token, and it is also the fee token.
Great. And I want to also know how it's been, integrated into some of the features that you have. Because from your website, I noticed that you guys have like the no key wallets, right? And
Mhm.
um, you also have third party wallets. So, how are these two different features being intertwined in your ecosystem? When does one need to use the no key wallet, and why did you still make other third party wallets available for use in your ecosystem?
Well, the Gnoki wallet is just for it's just for the terminal for programmers. Well, I mean, that's not true. I mean, you don't have to be a programmer to use it, but it's a traditional program that you have to type to use with flags. Um, and it doesn't have a user interface otherwise. You can plug in your hardware wallet onto it and use like a ledger, right? But it doesn't have a graphical user interface. So that's why Unblock, for example, was created at Dana, which is the third party wallet I think you're mentioning. And as for how the feature that I mentioned integrates, um, so the storage deposit, um, uh, when you type the amount of gas GNOT you want to sign with a transaction, that's separate from the GNOT deposit. And by default, we just allow every transaction to there's an allowance for a small amount of GNOT because most transactions probably won't end up creating too much storage. I forget the exact amount. It was like 50,000 GNOT or something like that. It represents a small number of bytes. And if your transaction is going to increase the new storage on chain significantly, then you just need to add another field, dash dash storage deposit, I think. So it's a bit of a novel mechanism. I don't know of any other chain that does this, but it does cleanly separate, the CPU gas concern from the storage concern, It also allows us to separate. Because of the separation, it also makes it possible to, say, run Gno.land with any other fee token in the future. So you could, for example, pay the transaction fee with one token. Maybe like USDC will be popular, right? But you still you would require the GNOT token to for the storage deposit.
Okay. And what type of projects are you actively hoping builders bring to Gnoland over the coming next months or years? And is there an industry outside traditional DeFi, such as gaming, education, or enterprise, that you think could unexpectedly become a strong use case?
Hmm. Yeah, well, we definitely want DeFi. Just to start off with, I'll say that. Like, and Gno Swap is we had a Gno Swap is an AMM system developed by OnBlock. They had a test where they were running quite a few, many transactions on a test net very successfully, a million transactions. So that's working out well. And we definitely want more DeFi projects too. But in terms of what applications I would like the ecosystem to build outside of DeFi, well, there's a lot. There's also for gaming, we have a partner called Acadia that is developing a browser-based Minecraft game where the state, the map is persisted on chain. So that's very exciting because in Minecraft, when you shut off your server, it's all gone. So it's not quite as real, but Acadia will have persistent maps and NFT items, which I think will bring a new dimension to Minecraft. But as I mentioned before, the applications that I'm most interested in are informational, right? So social, not just social like media, but socially collaborative information systems that will help us to discover what is really happening in the world and what's psyop and what's bullshit, right? That's why Gno.land was created, and I look forward to developing new applications to bring that to light. And it's these are the applications I'm most interested myself in developing. So we'll be seeing more of that in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for walking us through that. I think before we start getting questions in from the community, the last question I'd like to ask is in terms of, the exposure, the roadmap, because no matter how good a utility is or no matter how strong the team is, there has to be exposure about the features that you guys are building in terms of attending events, partnerships, and so I just want to know how you guys are going. What kind of project organizations are you guys intending to partner with? And are there any events like crypto events or events that cover the kind of features that your project has in order to create exposure of what the team is building at Gnoland?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I haven't found any events recently. I mean, in the near future. So I don't know yet. If you have any ideas, then I'd love to hear because then I can go there and pitch. It's super important, of course, to pitch the project in front of a wide audience. I know that there's an event coming up in Korea, so I'm inquiring about that. And but that's not the only way to pitch a project, right? So I do have an idea for an exciting idea for an application I want to build that involves controversial um, news items, right? And creating a widget that can be used to disseminate our project. So it's not an event, but um, there are many ways to build informational systems that can become viral, right? And give people exposure to Gno.land, kind of like the Poly Market widget that lets you see like the outcome of any event, and you can see like percentages of people voting yes or no with their money. There are other things we can do too.
Okay. I appreciate your transparency at where you guys stand in terms of, partnerships and all of that. And definitely, GoldDiggers team would reach out, to get some ideas that we have definitely put into other projects in order to, extend reach out. And like you said, not only events, that's not the only way, obviously, that one can create more exposure and, attract developers and those who would actively use the features in your platform. But it's just an added benefit too. So I think that is all the questions I have. But I don't know if there's anything you'd like to mention or add that you feel it's necessary and has not been mentioned throughout the conversation so far before I get in some questions.
Hmm. Well, I guess I forgot to mention that for Cosmos, we had a lot of success with Cosmoverse, right? These are events specifically for Cosmos. So for Gno.land, we've been heads down, getting the platform, the whole blockchain to, for launch, and we haven't had time to have an event. But of course, we will be having Gno-specific events as well, just like Cosmoverse. Now let's do questions. I'm ready for those.
All right. So guys, if you have some questions, kindly signify by raising your hand and I'll definitely unmute you. I can see a ton of questions in the chat. I'll try to go through them now and take one at a time. But let's take a live question first from Becky. Please, I want everyone. You can go ahead with the question. Okay, I think I have to go back with this microphone. So let's have the question.
Thank you for
Hey, well, yeah.
you properly. So first of all, I'd love to say one of the majors for developers is learning a new programming language. So beyond documentation, what incentives, educational resources or tooling is Gno.land, investing in to make Go developers feel productive within their first few weeks? So I just want to know if there's something you have going on that aspect.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of tooling that we've developed over the years for to make the development environment good. So we took a lot of the Go. One of the main benefits of programming in Go is the tool set that is made available, the standard tool set by the Go team, and also in third-party contributors. And we forked a lot of them over to Gno. So there's like Gno PLS for syntax highlighting. There's for dependency management, Gno mod, and we also have Gno Dev, which is a local server for quickly testing your smart contract during development. So the tool set that we've developed is comprehensive, and it'll make the Go developers feel at home. So yeah, we have quite a few tools for development. We also have a state explorer. So it's one thing to, you can upload your Gno smart contract and you can see the source code for all the smart contracts that are uploaded in Gno.land. But just because you can read the source doesn't mean you can see the state, right? So in addition to, I forgot to mention GNOWeb. GNOWeb is a key feature or product. It's a browser within a browser. So if you go to Gno.land, everything you see rendered there is rendered by running the GNO logic itself. There's a render function, and it'll spit out Markdown, and it renders to Markdown. So I guess this is a very unique feature of Gno.land in that any smart contract can be browsed by the GNOWeb website. Not, so you separately you can see the source code for all the smart contracts that are uploaded, but that's not enough, right? You also need state exploring. So yeah, there's a state explorer that lets you see all the objects and all the relationships between the objects.
All right, thank you very much. That's a well-detailed explanation, and you can see you've got a lot of tooling going on. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this one. Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
thank
good.
you so much, and the same for that question. So a question here from Nia in the chat is saying, every investor or those who want to get, let me see, sorry, I skipped the question. Okay, every investor or anyone who wants to get entangled with the projects would appreciate transparency. So are you guys audited? Are you guys KYC? Could you share information on the companies that you guys are KYC and audited with?
Yeah, we have been auditing our code, and the information is on sale.gno.land. The company behind it is New Tenement LLC. It's a U.S. company. I'm the major shareholder and controller of New Tenement LLC, and I'm a U.S. citizen. For us, U.S. regulations are important. So we also KYC our validators. So we're going through that process now for the mainnet launch. KYCing is not a problem with us.
Okay, I hope that answered the question. Yeah, and if it doesn't, you can definitely head to their group to ask any more question for further clarification. So another question here came in from Iron Chlor, and he's asking, how censorship resistant is Gno.land in practice today versus in its end state vision?
Okay. Well, the central choke point today is that there's only one GNO web server, which is on Gno.land, right? As soon as we have more people running alternative GNO web servers, so, like on other websites like bobsgno.com, right? Or whatever, they can have their own rules. And by having a variety, more exposure, it will be completely censorship proof. So what makes it censorship proof and transparent is that everything that's rendered on the website is determined by the logic of the render function, which is written in GNO, and you can see that source code, right? So that's already pretty good. It is going to be the case that Gno.land is going to have to also, filter some of the data that's rendered, because if there's like malicious information, if there's like porn, we want to filter those, right? But it is possible for others to run their own server. But one thing we have in the Constitution is like freedom of speech, right? So even though we don't want Gno.land to become a porn site, we do want to make sure that your speech, and especially contentious, like political speech, for example, or any news, does not get censored. So that's part of the Constitution. But just because we allow something or disallow something on Gno.land doesn't mean that you have to follow the same rules on your own server. So in the future, with the variety of servers, it will be completely censorship proof.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering that question. I hope that answered your question, Iron Clear. And as usual, if you don't get enough clarification or you still have more questions, kindly jump into the Gno.land group or on X. So let's have a live question now from David. David, you could go ahead real quick. Okay, sorry, before we have you, David, let's have Benkis. I initially unmuted Benkis, so try again. Try asking the question again.
Thank you very much, Moonshine. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been listening for quite a while now. It's just that Telegram has been messing me up, been breaking over here. But that was an awesome presentation by the team. My question for the team is, apart from this particular form of marketing that you guys are doing, that is advertising yourself, do you intend to engage in other forms of marketing too? I don't know if you get my question.
Yeah. Marketing is what we are changing focus to now. So, with the mainnet launch imminent, the next thing we need is to get exposure. It's very clear that these AMAs are bringing new eyes to Gno.land, and it's apparent when you go to sale.gno.land, right? And that's one thing I learned is the AMAs are a great way to get exposure. So I'll be doing more of those in the weeks and really months continuously to come. But we're looking for other ways to increase our marketing as well, working with marketing agencies, and it's a high focus for us because we know that just launching is not enough. There needs to be a strategy to continuously market our project.
Okay. I wish you guys good luck, and I love the fact that you will be going into other forms of marketing. Thank you for answering my question, and thank you, Moonshine, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Bankis.
Yeah, thank you so much, Benkis, for dropping in with a question. So let's go back to David. You can go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, good day. Hope I'm audible. Okay, yeah. Let me go straight to my question. I see Gno.land as a really interesting smart contract platform, and I also see them as let's say the GitHub of the ecosystem. So my question is, how do you see this changing developers building and collaborating in Web3 long term?
How do I see developers? Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, how do you see developers? How do you see this transparency in Gno.land? How do you see it changing developers building and collaborating in the Web3 system in the long term?
Yeah. Well, one thing, the thing that Gno.land makes very easy is to share libraries of code. And what I mean is like in Ethereum, there are libraries that you can import for your smart contract application, but every time you upload your smart contract, usually you bundle that library as part of your project, and it's not really reusing the same copy, right? So there might be small, slight like changes to every library dependency that you import. In Gno.land, this is not the case. You can upload a library, a package as a dependency, and anyone else can also upload, imports, just like you can in the Go language. So what I see as being different in Gno.land is that there will be a rich ecosystem of libraries to build your application from, and we leverage the language. So you just on top of your file, just with the import statement, import Gno.land /p/ username /package, and with that, what you can do then is you can audit the dependencies themselves, and you can upload, say, an audit report for dependencies, so you get a sense of how secure your application is through the rich information that we can provide in addition to your source code. So it's kind of like building a GitHub system on top of a blockchain. Yeah.
This is very interesting. Thank you very much, and I wish this project good luck.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, David, for that question. So we have more questions in the chat here that I would like to accept. The question, I kind of saw a question here. Okay, Frank is asking, are there plans for regional or local meetups for hackathons? So do you guys have
Yeah.
plans for hackathons and stuff like that?
Yeah, we are developing a hackathon plan internally. So for Cosmos, we had Hack Atom, and this is a smart contract platform. So of course we need a hackathon. So yes, we will have hackathon soon.
Okay, great. Let's have Jeremy ask a question. So Jeremy, you could go ahead with your question, please.
I'm audible. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you.
All right. All right. Thanks, Moonshine, for muting me. Nice to meet you, Jay. I would love to say that what you've said so far about Gino is quite amazing, and me being able to speak about it is a privilege. I would love to say thank you for that. So I'll go ahead with my question. No space much to the time. So Gno.land isn't just introducing a new blockchain. Um, what I understand, it is changing developers to rethink how chain software should be built, with emphasis on usable, transparent code. Now, between building the technology and changing long-held developers' mindsets, what do you think has been the challenge, the greatest challenge? And during your time with them, what lesson have you learned from that journey? I would like to know your input on that.
Well, thank you for a very interesting question. I think the biggest challenge is that outside of the crypto space, like for a lot of developers and a lot of people, like blockchain can almost be a bad word, right? They don't like the fact that there's so much kind of senseless speculation, and it almost feels like it's gambling, right? There's a lot of association with crypto and gambling. And so that, it's pretty clear that for us to succeed in acquiring a massive user base and to break through that barrier, we need to show applications that have usability outside of speculation, right? So that kind of goes to the application that I mentioned for controversial truths discovery. That wouldn't be like a gambling platform. It would have real use that is interesting to people, and maybe people won't even know that it's based on the blockchain, right? It doesn't have to be something that that emphasizes the crypto aspect, as long as it's usable, and there's a strong narrative that it's censorship resistant, right? Then with applications like this, I believe people can become open to crypto and blockchains as a viable solution. So that's the major thing for me. It's how to get users who are turned off by crypto and blockchains to actually use it.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me your inputs on that. And I believe your wise word will be able to spread out to the crypto native who think that gambling is crypto is gambling or otherwise. But your input is valid and it will help a lot of people who are venturing into crypto space. But yeah, you answered the question right, and thank you for the inputs, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, so I think these are all the questions we'll be taking for today's AME. Time has been fast spent talking about the whole ecosystem, what you guys are trying to build, and how you guys intend to attract more users to actively support and use the features. It has been an interesting section so far, and I just want to especially thank you, Jay, for coming out here and explaining the details, the transparency, and just being honest practically about what the team is building and the plans you guys have for the future. But before I close down the VC, I'd like to give you the floor to give the concluding statement.
Thank you. Yeah, well, please go to sale.gno.land. We have a fundraiser going on right now, so you can get GNOT before anyone else. And another selling point is these tokens, unless you're from the US, they will not be restricted like the other airdrop tokens. So go to sale.gno.land, SALE. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Everyone have a nice day. And thank you so much for joining today's AMA. See you guys in the next AMA.
Thank you very much.